welcome to my Biden versus Trump summer update prediction. Let's start. And there we go. Let's start for the likely states for Donald Trump. Let's go for Florida. So he would win Florida easily again, but this time by a likely margin. I think no matter what happens, he would win Florida by around 5 points. But if he picks Ron DeSantis as his vice president nominee, he would win it by around 6%. And it's also because of the fact that Joe Biden would have a slightly lower turnout in 2024 in my opinion, and he wins the state easily. And now moving on to Ohio and Iowa. So Ohio and Iowa, pretty interesting states. In 2024 between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, I don't see too much happening that would make a difference. I think you would see a lot of those Rust Belt appeal by Donald Trump helping. And I see him winning Ohio by around 8%, 9%, and Iowa by around 8.5 to maybe 10 if he campaigns well and everything goes perfect for him. And yeah, now moving on to the 2nd district of Maine. So it would be a similar result to what we got in 2020. And I don't expect it to move either too much to the left nor too much to the right. And now for the Biden likely states. Let's start for Colorado. It wouldn't be a safe state. I think it would drop at most to 10, 11%. But if Donald Trump is able to get a lot of those anti-Trump Republicans that voted for Biden in 2020, pretty sure he can maybe drop it down to 1 digit to around 9. But even then, that's a bit of a stretch. Still doable, but not as likely. Now for New Mexico, it would drop below Colorado, of course, in my opinion. I think Donald Trump would do pretty well with Hispanics, as seen in Florida, and New Mexico would be another case. In this scenario, even though Joe Biden would have a lot of incumbency and stuff, it would drop to between 7 to 9%. Still, Joe Biden winning it, of course. And before I forget, I'm going to talk about Maine at large. So I think the only difference would be instead of being 9% like it was in 2020, it will probably drop to 8%, just because of the fact that I believe Joe Biden would just have a less enthusiastic campaign compared to 2020. And now for Virginia. So Virginia, many of you know, a pretty solid state for the Democrats currently, and will be for the future. No matter the candidate, it would be really hard for the GOP to try to drop down Virginia to around 8%, 9%, or 1 digit margin instead of 2. And I see Donald Trump doing similar to what he did in 2020 and see him winning by around 10, and I see Biden winning by 10% here. And now for the lean states, so I'm gonna talk about Texas. So Texas, really interesting state for Donald Trump. I think if Biden has a poor campaign, you could say it could stay as a likely state, but with someone like Donald Trump who doesn't fit as much to the political culture of Texas, I think because he's a populist, Texas don't really like that much, as seen by 2016 and 2020. Texas is more of a establishment state, as seen by the fact that it went to Romney by a safe margin and by Donald Trump by around 5%. And 2024 could be the year in which we see Florida vote to the right of Texas. There's a lot of people moving from California to New York, but I just don't see it making a significant effect, but I do think it would make a dent. And I would see Donald Trump winning Texas by 4.5%, which is a lean margin. I do think it will be a slight drop, but bear in mind the fact that Donald Trump doesn't match the political culture of Texas and is still winning it by around 4-5%. Pretty good long-term look for the GOP still here. And now moving on, let me talk about Minnesota, similar to the Democrats. So Minnesota would drop down to around anywhere from 3 to 4%. I doubt we ever get to the point in which we see something similar to 2016, in which Hillary only won Minnesota by around 1.5%. And even if Joe Biden is unpopular or just meh, I see Joe Biden winning the state, as I've said before, pretty easily, 3 to 4%. And now, let's talk about North Carolina. Why not? So, North Carolina, said before, one of those states that's always between 1 to 4% for the GOP. I don't expect anything to change dramatically as long as Trump has an okay to good campaign. And I think it should be around 2 to 3.5% for the GOP in 2024. Moving on to New Hampshire. Yeah, let's talk about this one. So, one of those states that has really up and down dramatic changes in margins. But I don't think Donald Trump really fits the political culture of this state in many ways, which is why he didn't win it in 2016, and which, why Biden won it by a likely margin in 2020. And I see Joe Biden winning the state either way in 2024 by 2 to 4%. It would drop just because of less enthusiasm, but still, he will have enough to win in New Hampshire in 2024. And for the last lean state, for Nevada, there's been a lot of talk by Republicans, and Nevada will flip. I'm not that bullish on that at the moment. And unless I see something happen in the midterms, I'm gonna keep it as a lean state between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I could see it flipping for the GOP between someone like DeSantis versus Harris, but I just don't see Nevada dropping that much. I could see it maybe dropping to 1.5% if Joe Biden has a mediocre campaign and Donald Trump does better. But still, I see it being a lean state between both of them. And before we talk about the tilt states, as you can see, Joe Biden has 231 against Donald Trump, who has 235. Let's start off for, I'm going to start with Arizona. So, Arizona was an interesting state in 2020. I think that Donald Trump would flip it back. I mean, bear in mind that he only lost it in 2020 by less than 11,000 votes, in which he talked about John McCain, one of the biggest political figures in this state, as really terribly going after John McCain over and over again, and that really was the main reason why he lost Arizona. And I see Donald Trump winning Arizona in 2024 against Biden. And I see him winning some of those conservocrats or those anti-Trump Republicans that vote for Biden in 2020. And now let me talk about Georgia. So Georgia is an interesting state. So Joe Biden won it pretty well in 2020. Really was unexpected for the Democrats. More people were expecting back then for North Carolina to flip than to Georgia to flip. And between Joe Biden against Donald Trump, I just don't see a way in which Donald Trump can flip the states, even with a bill and all those sort of stuff. I see Joe Biden and the Democrats still winning in 2024 in Georgia. Maybe if Ron DeSantis was the nominee, I could see him maybe winning Georgia, even though it would be a flip state in that scenario. And yeah, I see Joe Biden versus Donald Trump winning Georgia in 2024. So, let's talk about Wisconsin. So, Wisconsin, the reddest states in the Rust Belt that will slowly become more and more red due to trends and all that sort of stuff. And because Donald Trump has really decent Rust Belt appeal, one of the best ones in the Republican Party, I could see him flipping Wisconsin easily in 2024 due to the less enthusiasm. And I think if he campaigns well with a good vice president nominee, he can flip a couple of those states and maybe improve in the wild counties. And now let me talk about Michigan. So Michigan, it could either be a lean state or a tilt state. I do think that there will be lesser enthusiasm for Joe Biden in 2024. I think Joe Biden would still win Michigan, of course, because of incumbency and all that sort of stuff. Trump probably will campaign in Michigan. I don't think it would be the best decision against an incumbent like Joe Biden against Harris. Yeah, I could see that. But I see Joe Biden winning here by around 0.75%, almost a lean state. So I have two true toss-ups, those being Nebraska's 2nd District and Pennsylvania. And it really just comes down to the fact that Joe Biden's rating has taken a nosedive, mostly because of Afghanistan. And as you can see is the disapproval rating. Overall, it keeps on getting higher and higher, and this is not a good sign if Afghanistan keeps getting worse. So, hey guys, Editor PMS here. As many of you have heard, there's sadly has been American casualties in the evacuation of Afghanistan. I just want to remind you that, bear in mind, this video was made before that. Let's continue on with the video. Here's my take on what would happen in 2024. If Joe Biden's approval rating stabilizes, he can win Nebraska's 2nd district by a lean or a tilt margin, depending on redistricting, and Pennsylvania. If the infrastructure bill goes well and helps Joe Biden, he wins the state by a tilt margin because it's basically his second home state. But if you believe that Afghanistan's situation will get worse, then Donald Trump could win the state of Pennsylvania in 2024. Especially if American soldiers or even American lives are lost because of some sort of attack or something like that, then Biden's approval rating will tank even more, leaving Donald Trump to win this state in 2024. And this depends on what you believe will happen soon. And this was my 2024 Biden versus Trump summer update prediction. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video.